Hello everybody. Today's lesson is talking about converting between decimal degrees and degrees, minutes, and seconds. So remember, when you start in your notebook, you always want to write down the title. As you can see, I have it underlined here, and then put in the date. Also, go ahead and write down example 1, including the directions. We're going to start out converting to decimal degrees. So this is an example of an angle that is exactly 34 degrees and 15 minutes. What we're going to learn how to do is change it into a decimal. That's going to be necessary when you're using the calculator to calculate values. The directions say round to the nearest thousandth, so we're going to do that. So go ahead and write down example A and we'll get started. First thing you want to do is you want to write down any whole degrees. So I have 34 whole degrees. I also have 15 parts of a degree, 15 minutes. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this exact angle and I'm going to convert it to a decimal, which will be necessary when calculating with a calculator. So first thing I need to remember, 1 degree is equal to 60 minutes. And 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. And we talked about this in the last 2 lessons. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what part of a degree do we actually have here. We have 34 whole degrees and we have a part of a degree. So we're going to be dividing. We're going to turn it into a decimal. Think about how many minutes are in a degree. So if you look over here, we said that there are 60 minutes in a degree, so we're going to divide by 60. The directions say round to the nearest thousandth. Thousandths place, if you think about how the places go, you've got a decimal point. The first number after the decimal point is in the tenths place. The next number after the decimal point is in the hundredths place, and the third number after the decimal point is in the thousandths place. So we're going to round it to 3 numbers after the decimal. So let's go ahead and go to our calculator. I'm using Desmos, and I'm going to type in 15 divided by 60. And then I'm going to hit enter over here. Okay, so I'm hitting enter, and you can see that my decimal is 0.25. So 0.25 is not technically the hundredths place. So what you can do is you can put 0.250. Okay, this specifically says to round to the nearest thousandth, so you could put 0.250. Now we also have these full degrees that we're going to just bring down. So to change between the exact value and the decimal, 34 degrees and 15 minutes is 34.250 degrees. Now if you just put 34.25, it would be fine. It would be something that I would not mark incorrect on a test. However, since it is technically asking for the thousandths place, then you can just simply add that 0. And notice I circled my answer. Example B, copy this one down. So the first thing you want to do is bring out the whole degrees. So we have 105 whole degrees. And we have 20 minutes. And we have 32 seconds. Okay, now think about what we're looking at here. We're looking for the part of a degree. So just like we did on the last one, we're remembering that 1 degree is 60 minutes. So I'm going to start by dividing by 60. So always divide your minutes by 60. Now your seconds are a little bit different. If there is 1 degree, which is equal to 60 minutes, and 1 minute equal to 60 seconds, then in order to figure out how many seconds I have, I'm actually going to have to put these two pieces together. 60 times 60. It's the number of seconds in a degree. So if there are 60 seconds in a minute and there are 60 minutes in a degree, then what you have to do is multiply these two numbers together. So 6 times 6 is 36. So there are 3,600 seconds in a degree. So let's go ahead and divide out. And remember, it says to round to the thousandths place. So we're rounding to 3 decimal places. Let's start with 20 divided by 60. Oh, I need to hit clear. 20 divided by 60. And then hit enter. And you'll see that it's 3 repeating, so 0.3 repeating. And I'm just going to round it off to the 0.333. Okay, next I'm going to go ahead and take the 32 divided by the 3,600. Clear that. If you have your own calculator, you can make this calculation a lot faster, but I just have this one available, so I'm going to use it. Okay, now notice how this one is going to be rounded. We've got 0.008 and then another 8. So if you round it to 3 decimal places, the thousandths place, that 8 followed by the 8 is actually going to round that to 9. So this will be 0.009. So that's what I'm going to write down. And I still have 105 degrees. That does not change. That's the whole degrees. So now I just need to combine my parts of a degree. So I'm going to add up my 0.333 and my 0.009. And remember, I rounded it. And I get 0.342. I'm going to bring down my 105 degrees. And I'm all done. So this is an exact measure up here by my cursor up here. This is the exact measure. This is the decimal approximation of the angle. Same angle, it's just 2 different ways of naming it. This will be needed down here when we use a calculator to calculate values. Okay, let's try a negative angle. So again, split it up the same way. Take out the whole degrees. Take out the minutes. This one doesn't have any seconds. Start out the same way. Notice you have minutes. So you always divide minutes by 60. There are 60 minutes in a degree. Okay, let's go to the calculator. So 48 divided by 60. And I get 0.8. And again, you can add those 0 zeros onto there to make it officially 0.8. And then I'm going to put the 2 zeros because it says thousandths place. Okay, now this is where some people say, no, you're doing this wrong. So I'll tell them what the answer is and they'll stop me and say, you're not doing this right. Even though this says -70 plus 0.800, it's not adding. If you look at our prior example, what we were doing was we were adding the pieces of a degree and putting the 105 on. We took the piece of the degree and we put the 34 on it. So it was 34 whole degrees and a part of a degree. It was 105 whole degrees and then this part of a degree. Same thing goes here. So we have -70 whole degrees and we have 0.800 part of a degree. It is not adding these two together. So you just take the whole degree and then you put on that part of a degree and then you have your answer. Okay, if you wanted to put negative 70.8 degrees, that would be perfectly okay as well. If you were taking a multiple choice test and it was asking you specifically for the thousandths place, then it would likely be listed with the 800. So just keep that in mind. Now what we're going to do is go in the other direction. So now we're going to start with these decimals, and we're going to change them back to exact or pretty close to exact values. We may have to round. Okay, and it says round to the nearest second, so there may be some rounding necessary. Start out the same way. So I'm going to start out by bringing out my full degrees, which is 54. And again, if you need to pause the video to write this down, pause the video. And our part of a degree is the 0.65. Okay, so we have 54 full degrees and we have 0.65 degrees. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to find out how many minutes does this piece right here represent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my idea that 1 degree equals 60 minutes. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this part of a degree by 60. So let's go to our calculator. 0.65 times 60. And you'll see that it equals 39. And it's not any decimals. There are no decimals. So that means we have exactly 39 minutes. Now, if this number ends up being a decimal, then that means we have minutes and seconds. But this one was an exact measurement, so that means we have 54 degrees and 39 minutes. No seconds on this one. Okay, let's try this one. Start out by bringing out the 16 degrees. Those are our whole degrees. And we have 0.285, whatever that is. That will be our part of a degree. So we're going to take this part of a degree and we're going to figure out how many minutes are in there. So we're going to start by multiplying by the 60. And notice even they rounded it to the thousandths place. On this one, the book, these are book questions. The book only put the 0.65, so they didn't even put 0.650. The 0 is just a placeholder. Okay, so we're going to take the 0.285 and we're going to multiply by 60. And you see that that equals 17.1. Okay, so the 0.1 is going to mean that we have minutes and then seconds. So let me write that down first. So we got the 17.1, and that's going to be minutes. And we still have the 16 full degrees. So the next step is going to be figure out how many seconds this 0.1 actually represents. So we have to bring out our full degrees. We keep that in the front. We're going to bring out our full amount of minutes, which is 17. And now we have that amount of seconds here, this 0.1. To figure out how many seconds that represents, go back to this original idea. 1 degree is 60 minutes. 1 minute is 60 seconds. Oops, that didn't write very well. 1 minute equals 60 seconds. So what I'm going to do is take the idea that there are 60 seconds in each minute. And so again, down here, I'm going to multiply by 60. So you may have thought, oh, you're going to multiply by 3,600 because there's 3,600 seconds in a minute. But if you recall, at the very beginning, this is all one continuous problem here. So we're working on one continuous problem here. I already multiplied by 60, so I only need to multiply by 60 down here. So 60 times 60 gives you those 3,600 seconds. So let's take that 10th, the 0.1 times 60. And you'll see that you have 6 seconds. Okay, so let me write this all out. We have 16 degrees. There are 17 full minutes, and we found out there are 6 seconds. Technically, when you are writing these minutes and seconds, you will write these as 2-digit numbers. So 0, 6 seconds. And circle your answer. Okay, let's try a couple more. Again, bring out your whole degrees, so negative 135. And we have a part of a degree. Go ahead and try the first step. 60 minutes. Remember, this was degree, and we're multiplying it by 60 minutes if you want to put the symbols in. Okay, so go ahead and go to your calculator. 0.7238 times 60, and you'll see that's 43.428. They already rounded it. It's already rounded to the thousandths place. And that would be minutes still. You still have the negative 135 degrees. Okay, so think about what this means. It means we have 135 full degrees, negative. We have 43 full minutes. And we have part, which means we have part of some minutes, which means we have seconds. So this is where we take that 0.428 and we multiply it by 60 again. Remember, there are 60 seconds in each minute. So go to your calculator, type that in, and you can see I got 25.68 for that number. Okay, now if you're asking yourself, what does that mean about this answer? If I have some parts of a minute, some parts of a second, how does that affect my answer? Okay, well, for these questions, you're not actually going to be adding these minutes and seconds together. Instead, the directions said round to the nearest second. So this 25.68 would round off to 26. So go ahead and write out your answer, leave out the pluses, and write this as 26. So pause the video and try the last one yourself. So check your answer, and if you made any mistakes, definitely take a look at each step and correct as needed. So here's your assignment for today. You will see that you are doing pages 8 through 10, number 49 through 72, and question 136. So make sure you are putting these on your own piece of paper and you are labeling this assignment so that you know what it is when you are entering it in and checking it and so forth. Also put your name on your paper. It's a good idea to do so. All right, have a great day.